Okay, my name's Chris McCormack, and you've joined me here in a training camp. I'm 7 weeks out from the World Championships in Kona, and this is my training camp. So I'm here for a while to do some hard work, and looking forward to it. If you followed my career at any stage, Kona came late in my career. I went through the short course ranks, and there was no Ironman 70.3 when I decided to switch across to Ironman. So I came out to Kona expecting to do big things, and I faltered, and it was a single race in my resume that took me a very, very long time to ultimately conquer. And over the years I decided in order to get good on this course, in order to get accustomed to the heat, I had to do some camps here, come out here and get acclimatised to the island, acclimatised to the heat. And since 2004 I've been doing camps on the island. I'm really the first triathlete to ever really do long camps in Kona, getting on this course and checking it out. So it seemed to work, so ever since then I've been doing it. And this is a house I've come to this year. A very close friends of mine, Julie and Lloyd Talbot, who I've known for many years, came and watched me in Ironman a couple of years ago, and fell in love with the sport. And they've got a property on the northern end of the island, and decided to buy a property down here on Alihi Drive. I don't know whether they did it for me, but it's very, very handy. But they bought this property last year after watching the race, and it's fantastic. It's going to be where I stay for the race, and we've been able to use it for the camp. So it's a very, very important part of my building phase, these camps. And this year Terenzo's joined me, which has been wonderful. I was able to talk him into coming out here. It's his first time in Kona, and hopefully if he doesn't make the same mistakes than I made, he'll get to the top of the Kona tree much quicker than it took me. But these camps are critical. Staying in a place like this is always nice. You come home from a hard training day, you can come and relax here, and as you can see, it's tough living. Yeah, well, Terenzo's a Kiwi, and I'm from Australia, and I've really heard about him for a long, long time. Since he was a junior, he was an exceptional junior, and I've heard all the, across the Tasman, we call it, this trans-Tasman rivalry between Australia and New Zealand. Things tend to, you hear a lot about what's going on over there, and his name popped up a lot. And I liked the way he went about his thing. He kept to himself. He had a core group of people around him that he worked with, and there is a lot of bickering in that within the sport, and he seemed to do his own thing, and I felt a real connection there because I was very much the same. And over the years we passed paths, but he's a lot younger than me. He's 10, 11 years younger than I am. Yeah, 10 years. And he's come across to the longer course in the last few years. He did the 70. He's a 70.3 world champion, and I hooked up with him in Wildflower a few times. We just gelled. He's a very, very polite, nice guy, and I heard he's got an amazing work ethic, which was something I liked. And this year we hooked up, and I threw the suggestion out there, hey, you're doing Kona, and if you want to come and join me on camp, you're more than welcome to come. I think when you go to a camp, you're looking for people that not only are good athletes, but people you get along with, because it's pretty tight living. You get tired and cranky, and if you don't get along with someone, then it can make camp an unpleasant experience. But he's such an easy guy to get along with. He's easygoing and a great athlete to boot. So, I've heard about him for a long time, and I really think he's the future of the sport. He's such a young guy, and he has a huge engine, huge engine, and the right people around him. I think, and when I see him, I wish I had someone. I'm not saying I wish I had someone like me in my life, but I wish I had someone to help me do the right things when I came across to Ironman, because it was a big, it's a big step up. Not so much the race, but the pressure that's involved with performing in Kona. In our sport, I guess it's like cycling. It's nothing else that matters except the Tour de France in cycling, and ultimately the race here in Kona. So you tend to, once you start down this path in Kona, everything you've done in your career is irrelevant. Like Terenzo had won world championships and all these things, but it seems that once you get on the starting line in Kona, if you get a 10th place or a 20th place, then that's how you judge. They forget everything else you've done. So that can be a difficult thing to handle if you don't get the results you're after in the first few years. So hopefully, by Terenzo seeing the way we do things, he can speed up the process and not take 5 years to win it like I did. I think I'm driven by, if you look at my career, I won a ITU World Short Course World Championship very early in my career, and I pretty much won everything I ever set out to achieve. And Kona was that one race that took me a long, long time. It took me 5 years to ultimately win the race. Nothing, I won European Championships, everything much quicker than that. And so it became a little project, and this single event made me learn more about myself than I'd ever learnt in my entire career. I'd never never worried about heart rate, never been into labs, never been into anything. I just thought hard work, hard training ultimately got you a result. But when I did all that and put that in process for Kona, I continually failed. So I had to get into the labs and learn that my physiology suited this style of race. This is how I had to race the event. So it became a project, and it became an event I fell in love with. And when I ultimately won, I progressed from a 5th to a 2nd to a 1st. I was like, finally people are going to leave me alone, because everyone was like, oh, he's going to be the greatest triathlete to never win in Kona. Well, I won it, and it was like, now leave me alone. And people sort of reflected, well, this guy's a pretty good athlete. He's had an amazing career. But now for me, it's for me now. I felt in the past my wins were about proving a point and proving that I was good, and I did deserve my ride amongst the Hall of Famers. But now it's a personal thing. I'd like to win this race one more time, just to prove to myself that I have what it takes in this heat. I have what it takes on this course. The difficulty with triathlon is, like I said before, your whole career is judged by your performances in Kona. And some of the greatest triathletes, I believe, have not won here in Kona and have not given the respect in their careers because they don't have a Kona title. And some athletes who have won in Kona aren't necessarily the greatest triathletes, but that's the way our sport is. And I'm coming back here to put myself 2 titles on that, a minimum of 2 titles on that trophy. I'm at peace with it, and when you start to draw, everything was so external. I was driven by anger and fear, and really fear is probably the right word. I was this desire, this fear that I wasn't going to achieve it. So that was your driving force and motivation. But now, when you're motivated internally, there's so much more peace and calm, and it doesn't seem the rush is not there. Like when I say the rush, the urgency, you can be much more logical and much more precision planned, and I feel the power and the strength is much more in me, and I have nothing left to prove except to prove to myself. And when you have to prove something to yourself, it's a bigger thing to prove. So I think this year my season's been exceptional because of that, and I'm looking forward to this year's race. My fitness is great. We picked up a little bit of a bug since the Philippines, but I feel, we're in the pool today. I feel fantastic. We're 6.5 weeks out, and I think I'm going to be a very, very tough guy to beat.